There are a few basic types of SQL injection. Let's take a look. First, there's error-based SQL injection. Then there's union SQL injection, and then there's something called blind SQL injection. Now, error-based SQL injection relies on error messages that are thrown by the database that will give us information about the structure of the database. Sometimes the errors are so descriptive that they are enough for us to figure out everything we need to know about that database. So let's just zoom in on this example here. So I tried to send something, first of all, to some vulnerable web server, some kind of web form, the ID 1 and 1 equals, and then I'm trying to convert, I'm trying to select add version, which means that's a global variable, add version, meaning tell me what version SQL you are, please, and convert this to an integer. And go ahead and run it. And notice the error message. Microsoft SQL native client error this. Conversion failed when converting the nvarchar value. Microsoft SQL Server 2005, version 9. Whoa! It just told us what version it is. On what type of architecture, CPU architecture. And it's Express Edition. On Windows NT 5 with Service Pack 2. How do you like that? I mean, we asked it to get the version, try to convert to something, to an integer. Obviously, it can't convert these words to numbers, so it throws this whole error. Awesome. Here's an example of a union SQL injection. We're leveraging the union SQL operator. We're combining the results of two or more select statements into one result, and then the whole thing is returned as part of the HTTP response. So let's take a look at this. So we're going to some SQL server, whatever, some form here, and here, and we're just kind of zoomed in, we're saying, and notice the single quote, so that's our invalid thing, union the invalid thing with this. Select everything from emp details. We assume this is a table called emp details, meaning employee details. Tac run. And you put in a password. You don't frankly care what the password is. And when you do that, the whole thing is going to be, the whole employee details table is going to come back, because the union statement says slap one thing together with another thing and return it as a single result. Here's blind SQL injection, and there are actually two versions of it. In blind SQL injection, we're not actually trying to transfer any data. We're trying to see how a server behaves. And how it behaves will tell us if the result is true or false. So we can't directly see the result of the attack, but that's okay. We're just going to go slowly, one character at a time. But of course, this will take a long time because we must enumerate the data character by character. So here's the first blind SQL injection, a Boolean-based attack. We send a SQL query to the database. We force the application to return a different result depending on whether the query is true or false. So if it's true, it gives us one type of result. If it's false, it gives us another. Looking at the type of result, which is not what we originally asked for, but it doesn't matter because that tells us true or false. So we can say, basically, is the person's last name, does it start with an A, true or false? Okay. Does the second letter start with a B, true or false? Does the third letter start with an E, true or false? And we slowly go that way. So it gives us some kind of result, one kind of result for true, another kind of result for false. You can see how slow this goes. There's also simply time-based. So we send the SQL query, we force the database to wait for a specific amount of time. And the period of time it waits before it throws whatever that response is to us will tell us if the result is true or false. So two ways of doing blind SQL injection, where you just kind of figure out based on either the type of response or how long it takes as to whether or not the character or the number you were guessing at actually exists. So here's just an example right here. We're going to some website, product ID, and let me just try to zoom in, see if we can see it okay. Asking about a product ID number 238. So select star from products where product ID is number 238. And what it is we don't know what kind of response we're going to have. So depending with blind SQL, the requests above, so we could say, show us product where the ID is 238 and true, or where 238 and false. So this is going to be the true statement. This one is going to be, if not true, the false statement. And so that's going to give us different kinds of responses. The underlying SQL is select star from products where the product ID is this and true statement, or and false statement. So depending upon, we may not see the actual result, but depending upon how it responds, we will know if there is such a thing as product ID number 238. So those are the three types of SQL injection.